Hello friends! Finally, after all the leaks, rumors and endless speculation, Ubisoft officially revealed the remake of one of the most popular games in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise. And yep, it even has a release date. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is currently scheduled to go live on July 9th, 2026. So 13 years after the original came out, Ubisoft is bringing it back as a full remake, rebuilt from the ground up on the latest Anvil engine. We're talking updated visuals, ray tracing and improved sound, as well as new story content, reworked combat and stealth, dynamic weather, updated naval system, and for better or worse, no multiplayer mode. The developers also made it clear that this is not going to be an RPG like Origins, Odyssey or Valhalla. They want it to stay as a solo character-driven adventure that feels faithful to the original. And honestly, that's completely fair. Actually, I think that's the right call for this specific remake. And the trailer does look absolutely stunning. The visuals are gorgeous, the world looks way more alive, and the combat looks as smooth as the water on the screen.
While wielding dual swords, pistols, and hidden blades.
So if you're a fan of Black Flag or Assassin's Creed in general, this could genuinely be a treat. That said, I'm still kind of on the fence. On one hand, the game looks great, and if Ubisoft actually gives it the polish it deserves, this remake could actually do well. But my biggest issue is still with Ubisoft itself. Over the last few years, the company has made one questionable decision after another. We've seen people lose their jobs, studios getting closed, and somehow the people responsible for those decisions always seems to walk away just fine, all while blaming everything on someone or something else. So for me, buying this game almost feels like rewarding this kind of behavior. And until Ubisoft stops causing chaos in an industry I genuinely care about, I probably won't be playing their games, no matter how good they look on paper. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm not going to judge anyone who is excited for it, because the remake does look really good, and I'm genuinely interested to see how well it will do, especially with the recently released Windrose. So what do you think? Are you hyped for Black Flag Resynced, or are you waiting to see the first reviews? Now, this is an interesting one. Nintendo is trying to get tariff refunds from the US government, but now consumers are suing Nintendo because they think they should be the ones getting that money back. According to GameFile, two gamers filed a class action lawsuit against Nintendo of America on April 21st. Their argument is pretty simple. Nintendo raised prices because of tariffs, but now that the company is trying to get those tariff costs refunded, Nintendo hasn't said whether any of that money would go back to customers. And I mean, we all know the answer to that question, but still. Basically, the lawsuit claims Nintendo could end up getting paid twice for the same thing. First through higher prices and then again through government refunds. And honestly, I can see why people are annoyed. A few months ago we talked about how Nintendo sued the US government, and the company specifically mentioned tariffs when talking about price increases. Their position was basically tariffs are a part of the cost, so they get built into the price. But GameFile also shared another perspective from a former chief legal officer at the Pokemon company, and he doesn't think that the lawsuit is very strong. He said he understands why consumers are furious, but legally Nintendo has no obligation to give that money back. And that's where this gets all kinds of frustrating, because if Nintendo gets the refund, the only people who really lose here are the consumers. They paid the higher prices, and now they have no recourse for getting it back, even if the company gets compensated for their troubles, so to speak. Now, the people filing the lawsuit could argue unjust enrichment or unfair business practices, which all would be more or less fair, but I also think they might be going after the result of the problem, not the actual cause. In my opinion, the people who should be taking more heed are the ones who created the tariffs in the first place. Nintendo was merely reacting to a US government decision. If those tariffs didn't exist, maybe Nintendo wouldn't have raised prices at all, which sucks because, let's be honest, Nintendo is probably not going to reimburse customers out of the goodness of their hearts. I mean, I'm not a legal expert and I'm definitely not a political one, but that's how I see it. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these guys could actually manage to squeeze water from the stone. Even though the mobile market is still completely dominated by the App Store and Google Play, Xbox apparently still wants to launch its own mobile marketplace someday. And to be clear, this isn't a brand new idea. Microsoft talked about this back in 2024 when Sarah Bond said they wanted to create a new alternative for mobile stores. The plan was to start with Microsoft's own games, including stuff like Candy Crush and Minecraft, and build a store that could operate outside the usual Apple and Google restrictions. That store was supposed to launch later that year, but obviously it didn't. Fast forward to now, Windows Central noticed that the website connected to the store had gone offline. So naturally, people assumed the whole thing had been quietly killed as part of Xbox's latest cleanup. But Asha Sharma, the new Xbox CEO, responded pretty quickly and said the idea is not dead. According to her, mobile competition still matters, and Xbox still believes the future of play should be more open. She also mentioned that Microsoft filed an amicus brief connected to the Epic v Google case, similarly to what they did when Epic was fighting with Apple. And for anyone who isn't a lawyer, like me for example, an amicus brief is basically when someone who isn't directly a part of the lawsuit says, hey, this decision could affect us too, so here's some extra context. In plain English, Xbox is trying to make sure the court understands that whatever happens between Epic and Google could also affect Microsoft's own mobile store plans, and wants to influence this decision. Which of course makes sense. It is absolutely in Microsoft's interest to weaken Apple and Google's control over mobile stores. If that happens, Xbox gets a much easier path to bring its own products to mobile. My guess is that Microsoft is letting Epic do most of the fighting for now. Epic is already deep in the legal battle, so Xbox can sit close by, support the argument, and wait to benefit if things go their way. But I'm curious, would you actually want multiple app stores on your phone, or would that just make everything more annoying? The new James Bond game 007 First Light is getting closer to release, and IO Interactive has now shared more gameplay and new details about what we can expect. The game is set to launch on May 27th, and the latest gameplay trailer called Rules of Spycraft gives us a better look at how missions actually work. We see Bond infiltrating areas, talking his way past security, sneaking around, and dealing with threats in a bunch of different ways, which looks absolutely gorgeous, I must say. The combat especially looks fantastic. It has this very John Wick style energy where Bond just grabs whatever is nearby and uses it to beat the hell out of everyone around him. It feels fast, stylish, and very physical, just chef's kiss. The rest of the gameplay seems to borrow a lot from what IO Interactive already does well with Hitman. You've got stealth, disguises, creative mission paths, and that whole figure out your way through the situation feeling, but now it has that classic Bond style layered on top. And I have to say, I'm really excited for this one. Mixing Hitman style mission design with a young James Bond adventure sounds like such an obvious win. And based on what they've shown so far, the execution looks pretty spot on. Of course, trailers are trailers. We still need to actually play it and see how it feels. But right now, this definitely looks like more than just another licensed game. Also, quick thing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alex, I'm a game producer, and I'm here to help you get caught up on everything that's going on in the video game industry. Unfortunately, we also have more layoff news. A new internal memo has been making the rounds online, and it suggests that Meta is planning to lay off around 8,000 employees and close roughly 6,000 open job posts. The memo was reportedly sent to employees on April 23rd and obtained by The Hollywood Reporter. Not long after that, Meta's chief people officer confirmed the 10% workforce reduction, which all seems to be a part of the company's ongoing plan to shift more resources toward AI. And honestly, that's not exactly shocking. Earlier this year, Meta already closed down 3 VR studios and laid off hundreds of people for pretty much the same reason. And Meta is not the only tech giant trying to reinvent itself around AI. Amazon reportedly cut around 16,000 jobs earlier this year to reduce bureaucracy, as they put it, which is obviously a code for more AI automation. Microsoft also recently announced a voluntary buyout program for around 7% of its workforce. The voluntary part is great, but everybody who's ever worked in a big corporation knows what it means. If they cannot reach the quota voluntarily, some people will be nudged toward this decision. But hey, at least Microsoft is offering people a decent payout on the way out. Still, this whole AI push is getting very exhausting. Every company wants AI now, whether their customers need it or not. Every service wants to shove some kind of AI feature in your face. And from a user perspective, it is getting incredibly annoying. I don't know how else to say it to these companies, but I don't need AI insights while I'm writing my email. I don't need AI suggestions while I'm paying a bill. And I definitely don't need an AI assistant popping up while I'm ordering a cup of coffee or something. At this point, I want an app that blocks AI, the same way AdBlock blocks ads, because honestly, it's starting to feel just as annoying, and it brings about the same amount of value. But okay, fine, whatever. That's the consumer side, which clearly nobody cares about. From the business side though, I still have the same question I have been asking myself for the past few years. How exactly are these companies planning to make all this money back? Because they are spending ridiculous amounts on AI, and surely this isn't just about automating workflows and cutting jobs. I mean, maybe it is, but maybe it's going to turn into the same old story. Ads, data collection, and selling user behavior to whoever pays the most before regulators catch up. Or am I not seeing some sort of huge business opportunity that's staring me right in the face? I mean, I don't know. Either way, it feels like every major tech company is sprinting toward AI as fast as possible, and regular people and employees are the ones paying the price. The recently released spiritual successor to Returnal, Saros, is already getting a lot of praise, and from the sound of it, Housemarque may have taken the Returnal formula and improved it in a really meaningful way. According to Metacritic, Saros currently has an 88 out of 100 score, and on OpenCritic, more than 90% of critics are recommending it. Reviewers are calling it another fantastic, fast-paced third-person shooter from Housemarque, with the same strong foundation that made Returnal so good in the first place. But this time it sounds like the game also makes better use of slower moments to tell a surprisingly emotional and thoughtful story. Now, of course, this is mainly what critics are saying, and as we all know, critic reviews and player reactions don't always line up perfectly. We also don't know anything about sales yet, but still, this is a really strong start, and honestly, Housemarque is starting to feel like one of Sony's secret weapons. They may not be the biggest studio in the world, but when they hit, they really hit. A highly reviewed PS5 exclusive is exactly the kind of thing Sony needs, especially if they want to keep giving people reasons to buy into their hardware. And some people are saying this is a potential Game of the Year contestant, but honestly, I don't know. The game looks amazing, no question, but it is still a pretty niche genre, and we still have a lot of big games coming in 2026. So could it get nominated? Definitely. Do I think it actually wins? Well, probably not. But either way, it looks like Housemarque really delivered again. And speaking of new games, Avalanche Studios, the team behind Just Cause, is apparently working on an unannounced AAA project. According to a recent job listing spotted by Insider Gaming, the studio is hiring a senior technical designer, and one of the responsibilities mentioned in the listing is scripting events, experiences, and systems for open worlds. The sad part, that's pretty much all we know. There is no clear hint about what the game actually is. And since Avalanche has worked on Just Cause, Mad Max, and The Hunter, just to tell a few, it really could be a lot of different things. Well, maybe not Just Cause 5. The studio already said last year they had no plans for that game, unless of course something changed behind the scenes. But honestly, the biggest good news here is that Avalanche is still making games, because the last few years have been pretty rough for them. They closed their New York and Montreal offices in 2024, shut down their Liverpool office in 2025, and also stopped development on their open world co-op projects, Contraband. So at this point, I'm just glad the studio is still alive and working on something new. Hopefully this is the start of a real recovery for them. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what do you think about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. What are your thoughts on AI-related layoffs recently, and if you are as excited about the upcoming 007 game as I am. As usual, if you want to know more, all links are down below. And of course, clicking the like button helps this channel a lot, and I personally highly appreciate it. Thank you for making it this far, and with that, Alex is signing off for today. Cheers!